Lara and the Heart of the Forest. The ascent to the Peak of Whispers was grueling, the air thinning, and Lara and Luma climbed higher above the emerald canopy. The vibrant life of the valley faded, replaced by jagged gray stone and a biting wind. Luma sat perched on Lara's shoulder, her small hand pointing toward a narrow ridge. "The path is treacherous here, giantess," Luma cautioned, her eyes scanning the heights for any sign of movement. A sudden, violent tremor shook the mountain, sending a cascade of sharp stones tumbling from the cliffs above. Lara reacted instantly, pressing herself against the cold rock face and curling her arm over her shoulder to shield Luma. They held their breath as the debris thundered past them, falling into the bottomless clouds below. Once the dust settled, Luma looked up at Lara, her suspicion finally replaced by a silent bond of trust. At the summit, they reached the mouth of the Cave of Shadows. It was a jagged tear in the mountainside that exhaled a freezing, unnatural mist. The cave walls were slick with an oily, black soot that seemed to drink the light from Lara's small crystal lantern. "He is inside," Luma whispered, her voice barely audible over the whistling wind. She notched a glowing flint arrow into her bow, the tip casting a soft blue light on her green skin. A low, guttural growl vibrated through the floorboards of the cave, and then Glom emerged from the darkness. He was a towering monstrosity, a shifting mass of twisted, rotted roots and swirling black smoke. His eyes burned like dying embers in the dark. In the center of his hollow chest, the forest jewel was trapped, pulsing with a faint, suffocating green light that struggled against the surrounding shadows. Glom let out a roar that sounded like 1,000 breaking branches and lunged at the intruder. His smoky claws swiped through the air, barely missing Lara as she dove across the uneven floor. The beast's presence felt like a physical weight, cold and oppressive. Lara scrambled to her feet, realizing that her strength alone would not be enough to defeat a creature born of shadow and malice. From a high stalactite, Luma began her assault. She moved with impossible speed, leaping from one rock formation to another while raining down glowing arrows. The arrows didn't pierce the monster's hide, but they erupted in flashes of pure light upon impact, blinding and confusing the beast. Glom swung his heavy, branch-like head toward the ceiling, snarling and snapping at the flickering lights that danced around him. "Now, Lara, reach for the heart," Luma's voice echoed through the chamber. Seeing the opening, Lara charged. She didn't head for the monster's face, but instead leaped onto his massive, root-tangled leg. She climbed with desperate speed, her fingers digging into the rough, bark-like exterior of the beast. Glom roared and thrashed, trying to shake her off, but Lara held on with a grip born of sheer determination. With a final, agonizing reach, Lara plunged her hand into the swirling vortex of smoke at the monster's chest. Her fingers closed around the cold, smooth surface of the forest jewel. As she wrenched it free, a blinding wave of emerald energy exploded outward. Glom let out a final, mournful wail as his shadowy form began to unravel, dissolving into harmless mist that drifted toward the cave ceiling. The cave, once a place of dread, was suddenly bathed in the warm, healing radiance of the jewel. The oily soot vanished, and the air became sweet and clear. Lara and Luma began their descent, the jewel's light acting as a beacon that guided them through the mountain pass. As they walked, the withered plants near the path began to sprout new leaves, responding to the jewel's ancient power. They returned to Verdia as heroes. In the center of the village, Virid waited at the base of the great wisdom tree. With a steady hand, Lara handed the jewel to the dwarf guardian. As Virid placed it back into its sacred hollow, a ripple of emerald light washed over the entire valley, restoring the protective veil. Lara watched the celebration, realizing that while she was a giant in their world, her heart had finally found a home.